We're going to talk through Chapter 3, Section 7, Solving Percent Problems. We're going to talk about two different methods to do that. The first method is using a proportion. You might remember from past years that when we use a proportion, we always set up the part in the numerator, the whole in the denominator. We're going to set that ratio equal to the percent over 100. Per cent, okay? If you know anything about French, the word cent is 100, okay? So we can read this as per 100. That's why our denominator for any percent is going to be 100. You may also remember that for most of these problems, when you see the part, it usually has the word is, and when you see the word the whole, you will usually see the word of associated with those. So I know a shortcut is to think of it as is over of is percent over 100. So here's our problem. What percent of 25 is 17? So this what percent indicates that I don't know my percentage. So when setting up my proportion, I'm going to put my variable over 100 because I don't know what percent. I see those words of and is. Well, is kind of in between them, but the of is very clearly closest to the 25. That's going to give me an indication that my whole is the 25. The is my 17, and that's going to be my part. A lot of people tend to think that the 25, because it's larger, has to go on the denominator. That's not always the case. There are times when we have percents of increase, that are over 100%. So please don't be fooled by always thinking that the larger number goes in the denominator. Okay, I've set up my proportion. Now I'm going to solve my equation. I'm going to use cross products. So I'm going to do 17 times 100. I'm going to set that equal to 25x. If I do my work properly, I'm going to get 68 is equal to x. So again, this step here, we're just solving our equation using inverse operations. Finally, I need to remember to answer the question. The question was what percent? So the correct answer is going to be 68%. The next method we're going to look at is going to be finding a percent using an equation. So we have the same type of a problem right here, only I have a key. This key will help you to convert a sentence in words into a mathematical sentence or an equation. So let's use our key to see what we can do. First thing I recognize is just like the first problem we looked at, it says what percent. That indicates that we do not know our percent. According to our key, when we see our percent, we need to convert it to a decimal. Well, obviously, we do not have our percent, so we're going to use a variable, okay, to represent that what percent. So we'll say x. When I see the word of in my key, of indicates that I'm talking about multiplication. I'm just going to put a little multiplication sign with a dot. Obviously, I would probably try to eliminate even that when writing it. So for my of, let's draw our little arrow. We're just going to put a dot for the time being. It's going to be x times something. That something is going to be 136. The is I'm going to translate that as an equal sign. And finally, the number 51 would just be translated as 51. So let's fill in our arrows so you know where these things are coming from. The is was our equal sign. And our numbers are just translated as numbers. The only exception to that is when I have a percent, which I should convert to a decimal. The word what is going to indicate that I don't know what that is, and you should use a variable. That's what I did right here. Now that we have our equation, we're going to solve it. I'm going to simplify that as 136x x is equal to 51. I'm going to solve for x. When I pick up my calculator and I divide 51 by 136, I get an answer of 0.375. I want to take a minute and answer the question that was asked of me. It says, what percent? Remember, what we did not do in the beginning of the problem was convert our percentage to a decimal. We ended up with an answer in decimal form, which needs to be converted back to a percent. So I'm going to take 0.375, and since this is 375 thousandths, okay, and I want it as hundredths, I'm going to move my decimal point over 2 times. It's going to be 37.5%. If I were you, I would make sure that you've copied down this key, and I'll flip back to my first screen. I would also make sure that I have copied down this as a guide to set up my proportions.